Hi, I'm Kishore and this is Moving Images. This feels new, sitting in front of a camera showing my face. Bear with me as I get used to this new format of presentation. But now, let's jump into today's video. Ready? Oh, for God's sake. Okay guys, we finally did it. We made an actually good superhero movie in India and it took us only maybe more than a few. Alright, a ton of attempts to get it right. But we have got it so right this time. I am talking about the one and only Minnal Murali. A movie that has taken us superhero nerds by storm, or should I say lightning. So let's talk about what makes Minnal Murali great. A few years ago, I made a video on how to make a superhero film in Tamil. If you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend you do. Although the Tamil film industry has largely not been successful in making a good superhero movie, I'm glad Malayalam cinema is showing us the way now. Okay, so going back to my video, there were certain aspects I said were important for any superhero movie, such as origin, costume, story, and villain. This video is sort of a sequel to that video where we see how Minnal Murali gets it right. A good origin will deal with both the super and hero aspects of a superhero. The super being how he gets his power and uses them. And the hero part is what makes him use the power for the good. Minnal Murali covers the super part quite well, with references thrown in about comic book superheroes to help the audience understand how his powers work. It is also done in a fun montage similar to Shazam. And who doesn't like a good montage? The hero part shows how Jason was inspired by his father to become a hero. Although the part about how Jason transforms from a selfish guy to a selfless hero is there, it still could have been given more time and gravitas. I didn't really believe Jason became the hero in the climax as he stood triumphant over the villain. This moment should have made me cheer, but it didn't. But let's put a pin on that topic for now. Moving on to the costume, this is one aspect where the film truly shines. I'd said in my previous video that a costume should have a purpose and it should announce the arrival of the hero. The movie does a brilliant job by having the identity of Minnal Murali stolen by the villain and the hero getting blamed for the villain's misdeeds. With both the hero and villain having similar powers, the only way the hero could stand out without revealing his identity is to use a costume that only he could make with his father's design and his tailoring skills. So the costume comes from a truly unique necessity and it works well in announcing the arrival of the hero since Jason only dons it once he decides to become a hero and use his power for the good. The filmmakers chose a red and blue color palette for the hero and a muddy green for the villain, and this is classic comic book color theory. The hero's costume here is reminiscent of Spider-Man's costume, and since Spider-Man's costume is red, his villains are usually clad in green, be it Lizard, Sandman, Vulture, Mysterio, Doc Ock, and especially the Green Goblin. Their green pops off when contrasted with Spider-Man's red, since these two colors are opposite to each other in the color wheel. Here Minnal Murali's shiny red and blue brilliantly contrast the muddy and tattered green, Scarecrow-esque costume of the villain. Speaking of which, let's talk about the villain. I'm combining the story and villain aspects here, since Minnal Murali is more of a supervillain story. I mean, the film pays a lot of emphasis on Shibu's story and what turns him into a villain, and it does so in a wonderfully empathetic and rooted way. I had said in my other video that the villain should be cut from the same cloth as the hero. There should be two sides of the same coin. The villain should be a slightly skewed yet opposite version of the hero. Apart from both Jason and Shibu acquiring similar powers on the same night, there is a deeper connection. Both Jason and Shibu have unrequited love in the form of Binzi and Usha respectively. Both of them gain their powers on the same night they both try to pursue their love. It is how they deal with the failure to get the girl that puts them on their respective paths. Jason cries but moves on. He finds a friend in Viji and that eventually turns into something else. Shibu on the other hand remains obsessed with Usha and this makes him do horrible things. It is his deeds that claims the life of Usha and finally makes him a villain. The reason why both Jason and Shibu could not get the woman is familial circumstances and the fact that both Jason and Shibu are orphans with no identity. Jason and Shibu both rebel against this rejection in their own ways and use their powers for their own selfish needs at first. They both share the moniker Minnal Murali for their selfish deeds on the same night. The film until this point paints them both as the same, but it is this pivotal moment that makes them diverge: the death of Dasan. And I have to stop here and talk about the brilliant Guru Somasundaram, who truly blew me away with his performance. The man is a powerhouse when it comes to expressions. Just look at this scene where he burns Dasan along with Jason's shop and tries to call the villagers' help to avoid suspicion. He owns the role and elevates the movie from childish fun to art house cinema. Getting back to the moment, this is Shibu's first kill and the point of no return for him. This should have also been Jason's Uncle Ben moment, where he learns the whole.
With great power comes great responsibility.
But the film sort of flounders on that part. Remember when I said let's put a pin on this topic? Well, it's time to talk about the hero's motivation. Although the story of how Jason got his powers are similar to The Flash and his powers are reminiscent of Shazam, it is actually the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies the film draws some heavy inspirations from. The way both the hero and villain get their powers on the same night, and even to the color of their costumes like we discussed so far. But what it lacks is a proper Uncle Ben moment. The moment that shakes the self-serving Peter Parker into realizing how the one person who he truly cared for was taken away from him because of his selfishness. This moment defines Spider-Man in his first comic book appearance in Amazing Fantasy No. 15 from 1962. Jason, on the other hand, has an actual heroic father who he has forgotten about following an accident that claims his father's life. An adopted father who gets roughed up by the police for standing up for Jason, and an uncle-like figure, Dasan, with whom he fights with, but later, when he goes back to apologize, is found dead. But none of these characters suffer or die because of Jason's selfishness. There isn't a solid reason for Jason to become a selfless hero, except for the words and deeds of his dead father. I'm not asking for a scene-by-scene recreation of the Spider-Man story, but rather a moment that defines the hero. If it is the death of a loved one that gives Shibu the final push to become a villain, then it should be the same for the hero. The difference is how they deal with it. Which also brings me to the one final gripe I had with the movie, and that is the part where Jason kills Shibu. Okay, even Mogamudi had the hero try to save the villain before he chose to fall to his death. Like I said, the whole climatic battle and the ending didn't make me cheer for the hero. But the movie had me in awe until that point and did so many things right that I'm willing to forgive it for this, as long as they address these in the sequel. But that is a topic for another time. Until next time, this is Kishore signing off saying,
ചിലപ്പോൾ ക്രിക്കറ്റ് കളിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ കൂട്ടുകാരും എല്ലാം ബാറ്റ് എടുത്ത് പുള്ളിയുടെ തലക്കടിച്ച് കാണും. ഇങ്ങനെ വരാനേ വഴിയുള്ളൂ.